There's a problem, an epidemic, a plague sweeping through the review community, not just the book review community, but all reviews in general. And that plague is rating systems. Hello guys, and welcome to 115 Reading. And today I would like to give probably my spiciest take that I've ever given, something that I'm really passionate about, and that is how much I hate and despise rating systems in reviews. So I'm going to talk about it. How many videos have you seen from review channels that feel the need to explain their rating system because they keep getting comments from people who disagree with or just completely misunderstand the ratings that they've given a certain thing? And it doesn't matter what rating system they use, whether they use stars, whether they use numbers, whether they use letter grades, whether they use code phrases, right? It doesn't matter, right? Any of those rating systems, they always feel the need to explain it. And then how many videos have you seen where people talk about, right, how you should rate something, right? So I'm thinking very recently, Two to Ramble put out an episode about about how many 5 stars you should give out or how you should rate things. I've seen other videos explain this, like Jake Bishop made a video about like, oh, this is why you should give most books 4 stars and above. I can't remember what it was, something like that, where he like averaged out his ratings or whatever to explain why most books are like 4 stars, right? I have seen so many videos around this. And to be honest, I've also seen a million comments, right, that argue with people about how their ratings are actually lame and here's my rating system and you should use this better, yada, yada, yada. Let's just be real, okay? I think rating systems are stupid. I think they're mostly pointless. And I think we would all do better if we basically just dropped them. I'd like to preface this by saying I understand why people like ratings for 2 reasons. One, no matter how subjective something is, people just like objectivity. We like being able to bring that into any discussion. In fact, sometimes it's really fun to talk about something that we all know subjective and objective means. That's just really fun, all right? We like that. We like debating things like that. That is a fun time. Secondly, I also understand why people like ratings because personally, ratings, let's just be honest, they are fun. As much as I'm about to disparage ratings in this, I also use them. If you go to my Goodreads profile, you will see that I give things stars. If you go to my Letterboxd profile, you will see that I give things stars. I rate things for myself because in my own head, it's a good way to organize my thoughts on something, okay? And that's another reason I know that people like ratings, because they like to organize their thoughts on things, and that's really totally fine. I do the same thing. I think the problem enters the equation when you're talking about a channel like this, like the one you're watching right now, like a booktube channel or a book talk channel, right? Or a podcast that reviews books. I think once you get into that scenario, I think introducing ratings for other people doesn't make sense. And I think it causes a whole lot of problems. And here's why. Problem number 1, everybody thinks about their rating systems differently than the way you think about the rating system, even if you use the exact same rating system, right? So take 2 people. If 2 people use a number out of 10 rating system, right? Like from 1 to 10, 2 people can use the exact same system, but they use it differently. Right? So the classic example I like to think of is that for a lot of people, they'll use a 1 to 10 rating system. And for them, this scale basically starts at 7, right? Like this is like the IGN scale, right? Like there's basically only from 7 to 10, and 6 and below is all just like bad. And all those distinctions are basically arbitrary. Like you see people who use this scale say, oh, this book or this movie was passable. It was just okay. It was mediocre. 7 out of 10. And then you'll have other people who are like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what about 6 through 10? Shouldn't the scale start at number 5? Because number 5 is the middle, so anything mediocre should be 5. And 6 or above should be good, right? Like those should be different levels of good. And so what you'll see here is that the first reason I think number rating systems are bad, especially for reviews, is that what one person's 6 out of 10 means is different from what another person's 6 out of 10 means. And so when you put out a review and you say this book is a 6 out of 10, in your head, that makes perfect sense. And you're thinking, yes, this is a positive 6 out of 10 book. Some person will hear 6 out of 10 and go, oh, well, I guess that book is terrible because 6 out of 10s are bad. You see what I mean, right? Because 2 people can use the exact same rating system, but think about it differently. You are now miscommunicating what you actually think about the book, no matter what you say. Even though you think that rating systems are objective, rating systems are also subjective because the way you use a rating system is personal to you. The way I think about a 5 out of 10, the way you think about 5 out of 10 is different. Right? Now, if they align, that's great. And you can find out that somebody uses the numbers the same way as you. That's really cool. And it's a match made in heaven. But that doesn't really actually happen because everybody has slight variations on how they use those numbers. A second reason why a number rating can be bad, it takes out the nuance of positives and negatives despite the rating. For me, right, a 6 out of 10 can be either a positive or a negative. So for instance, You can go into something and think, all right, this book or this movie is going to be total trash. Well, that was actually pretty good. I really enjoyed myself, but there were still some things I didn't like. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10, right? It was a lot better than I expected, but like there were things I had a problem with, but this is still a positive 6 out of 10. Whereas I could go into another book or movie and expect high marks, right? Like this movie's going to blow me away. And then it gets a 6 out of 10, which is still a good score, but it's a decidedly more negative score because I thought it was going to be a 9 out of 10, and instead it's a 6 out of 10. And so this is a disappointed 6 out of 10. So notice how like even when one person is using one number with one rating system, it can still mean it can still mean different things. I could use a 6 out of 10 as a negative or a positive depending on the context. And so just a flat number doesn't express that nuance. I'll give you a concrete example. I recently went to go see the final Mission Impossible movie, and I really wanted to love it, and I didn't. Now, it's not a terrible movie, right? So I would still give it a positive score, I think, but it would be a disappointed positive score because I wanted to like it more than I did. Does that make sense? And just like the flat number, if I just gave it a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10, that would not express that amount of nuance, right, in the discussion. Reason number 3 that rating systems are dumb is that people, when they watch or read your review, this is something I've noticed, especially if you look at any comment section. People, once you introduce any kind of rating system, be that words, letters, numbers, doesn't matter. People, after time, will only look at the rating itself and not at the discussion around the review. This has been a long time, and I might be misremembering, but I think I remember back when I used to watch the movie review channel by Jeremy Johns, he gave the movie Mad Max Fury Road a very positive rating. Like he uses a structured like phrase type of rating system. So like his top movies are Awesome-tacular, and then right below Awesome-tacular is this movie's really good, it's worth buying on Blu-ray, right? So he gave Mad Max Fury Road worth buying on Blu-ray, which is the second highest grade he could give a movie. And I remember he did like a rankings video at the end of the year, and he said that one of his fans came up to him in public and got mad at him because he hated Mad Max Fury Road. And basically his whole assumption for why he hated Mad Max Fury Road is that he did not give it his highest rating. What that example taught me is that people will only focus on the rating that a reviewer gives something, and they do not focus on the discussion around it, because that review that Jeremy Johns gave was very positive. And it was so positive, that movie ended up in his top 10 movies of the year. And somebody thought he hated it because he was focused on the fact that he didn't give it the top score in his rating system. And that's the problem with rating systems. After time, people only look at the numbers or the letters or whatever, and they don't listen to the actual review, to the nuance, to the discussion, to the actual points of the review, to the reasons that it was given that number. After a while, people only focus on the number. And then when people only focus on the number, they start arguing with you about the number, about how you're wrong about that number. And they're missing the entire point of a book discussion or a movie discussion entirely. Because the whole point of a number is just to be like, yeah, this is how I'm organizing in my head. It's a 4 out of 5 or whatever. And somebody else will be like, well, that's not a 4 out of 5. It's a 2 out of 5. Let me argue with you about why you're wrong about that number. And it's like, why are we arguing about the number? We need to be arguing about the book instead. Let's just talk about how we both felt about the book. But instead, all the focus of the discussions in the comments, in the videos, they're all focused on the number. It's so dumb. And then you get people, they drop rating systems, and you get a lot of people who are so reliant on number ratings or letter ratings that they don't know how to handle a review that just discusses things they like or dislike about a book. Because you'll see a review where somebody says, here's some things I liked or disliked, and somebody say, well, but did you like it? What would you give it out of 10, right? The focus has become only on the numbers and instead of the actual discussion. There's so much more I wish I could talk about in terms of ratings and how I feel about them. In fact, actually, if you want a bigger discussion, on my board game channel, 115 Gaming, I actually did a discussion about this in relation to board games as a collaboration with a channel called Board Games Unlocked. I think it's somewhere linked on my channel. You can go find it. We had like an hour-and-a-half long discussion about this, but I want to keep this short. So those are basically those are my 3 problems with ratings. And now I would like to give a solution. Because what can we do? What can we do to fix this problem with ratings? In a perfect world, in a world run by myself, where obviously everyone feels the exact same way I do, because if I feel this way, I know everybody else feels this way, I would like to propose this radical solution. And it's gonna blow your mind. All right, here we go. If we can't do number ratings or letter ratings or whatever, how will we possibly know if somebody likes or dislikes a book? I know that's what you're asking. Now here's my radical solution, okay? Let me just pitch this to you, and you tell me what you think. Just listen to what the reviewer says. Listen to the content of the review. Listen to the points that are made. Listen to the pros and cons that they bring up. And here's what's crazy. If what they say in the review sounds like, oh, that sounds like it would align with something I would like, there you go. You can go buy that book now based on that review. If you hear the review and they're bringing things up and you're like, man, that sounds like something I wouldn't like, there you go. You don't have to read that book. You don't have to go and buy that book. If you have read the book and you are watching a review and they're bringing up things that they like or don't like, now you can just focus on the points that they make in the video that you agree or disagree with, and y'all can have a discussion about the book instead of a discussion about an arbitrary number rate. In an ideal world for me, we would drop number ratings in reviews and we would just discuss our feelings on the book or movie at hand. And then people who disagree can just discuss about the points that we agree or disagree with. And we can have a good discussion about the book and not a discussion about the number rating. Because to be honest, everybody, and this is just one last thing, one last dig, what nobody talks about. I don't care how much you think that your system is objective and perfectly mathed out. I'm here to tell you, guess what? Any rating system is just based on arbitrary vibes anyway. Any rating they give and any math they base their rating off of, I'm telling you, it's just arbitrary. It's just vibes. It's all just vibes, y'all. Like somebody who gave something a 7 out of 10, I'm telling you, they just gave it because they're like, how do I like my movie? Well, probably about a 7 out of 10. And that's usually what it is. Something that has like an even higher degree of math, they're going to start somewhere in that equation with an arbitrary vibes-based rating anyways. So what I implore somebody to do is just listen to what people are saying in the review and base your engagement with the review based off that. Let's have discussions about the things we're reviewing, and let's move the discussions away from the numbers, because those discussions aren't fun and they're pointless, because no amount of arguing is going to convince somebody to change their arbitrary number rating. But what is a fun discussion to have is a discussion about the book that's actually being reviewed. Anyway, thanks for popping in. Make sure to comment below this video and rate my video out of 5 stars or out of a 10 number scale, or give me a letter grade, I don't care. Tell me what you would rate this video on your personal rating scale. And until next time, guys, see ya.